you know how the story originally broke? The Packers podcaster named Big B.
Shout out Big B.
Jamal Williams is inside the 30, out in front, a Green Bay touchdown.
Jamal Williams is the GOAT, the GOAT. That's all you need to know.
Let's keep it under 25 minutes, all right?
We might be too young to have a spotted cow, but we are both diehard Packers fans. Welcome back into the Underage Packers podcast. This is episode 153. Not so great of a week in Packerland. Second straight loss for the Green Bay Packers. 34-20 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Playoff chances have plummeted, and we are now looking ahead to the offseason. But we do have a game on hand this weekend against Carolina Panthers in Carolina on Christmas Eve. Should be an interesting time. I'm Joey, and joining me to preview this game is, as always, my friend Big B. How are we doing this week, my friend?
Doing all right. You know, the Packers victory kind of, got me into depression again. But
The Packers lost. You mean the Packers did not win?
Wait, what? I don't know.
You said the Packers victory, but yes, go on.
Shoot. Anyway, we got a game against Carolina this week. We should win this game. So hopefully get things right back on track.
You say the Packers should win this game, but I mean, yeah, they should. Although yes. I don't know what Packers team we're dealing with. I know, earlier on this season, I think it was before the Rams game, I said something like, we don't want to come out of this season with a lot of question marks. We don't want to come out of this season not knowing in 2024, are we going to get the version of the Packers that we saw weeks 2 through 8, or are we going to see the version that we saw weeks 9 through 14? And right now in this last stretch of the season, that's where we're at. We don't know what we're going to get. I would say, with the injuries they have, that's not helping either. But it's concerning, just the inconsistency from week to week. And they'll have some questions to answer there, though. So let's get started with this game from Tampa. First off, what I want to say, and I'm sure Big P will have some squibbles with this here, but Packers fans, can we treat Joe Barry like a human being? We can treat him like a human being who is very bad at his job, okay? Don't get me wrong. I think, as much as anybody else, I think Joe Barry is not fit to be the Packers defense coordinator, and I think they should look elsewhere. However, for me, what really opened my eyes was a few years ago when Matt Nagy was with the Bears, and he was bad at that job, okay? I don't know how good he is as a football coach in general, but he was not meant to be a head coach, okay? That was pretty clear. And so, obviously, the Bears fans went crazy. There were Chicago Bulls games where you could hear on TV people saying fire Nagy, and then and that's whatever. But then at his son's high school game, people were chanting it too. And I'm not saying anybody's doing that to Joe Barry, but I've seen people allegedly get his number and text him that he sucks at his job. And Big B, I'm gonna call you out, and others people, and it's not like you've started it or the main culprit here, but there's been plenty of people that have gone across the line, I would say, with memes about Joe Barry. Okay, if you're on Packers Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, I mean, what I'm just saying is just say he's a bad defensive coordinator and move on. That's my only thing with it. And he said yesterday at his press conference that it was a tough week for him and his family, but that he understands this is the NFL. This is what you sign up for. You're going to be scrutinized, which. Yeah, I mean, he's not doing great at his job, and a lot of people sometimes like to compare NFL jobs to real life, and it's oh, well, you wouldn't like it if somebody was calling out when you did bad at your job. And it's okay, but Joe Barry is getting paid millions of dollars to put a product on TV that people spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on. This is a billion-dollar industry, and he's not doing good at his job. He should be called out. However, he's a bad defense coordinator. That's the end of it. Let's chill out on Twitter, okay? And I know that's not real life, but that's my plea, okay? All right. I'm glad Big B is not fighting back on that. I'm sure he has a lot he wants to say on that, but we'll put the cap on that one. Now to complain about Joe Barry and the job that he did, though. in this Tampa game. Obviously, Baker Mayfield having the best day as a quarterback at Lambeau Field. Packers secondary, just a horrendous day. Gerard Carragher pointed out that the Packers had one of the worst pass coverage performances in recent years. Their PFF coverage grade of 29.3 was the lowest grade of any team in a single game of the last 5 years. Baker Mayfield had a perfect passer rating, really no challenge to any of his passes. It just felt like the receivers were not only wide open, but then even after that, had plenty of space to roam, a lot of missed tackles. And, the most frustrating thing, too, was that Devondre Campbell ended up on coverage in like Chris Godwin and Mike Evans multiple times. And the Packers, once again, just made no defensive adjustments. And it's very frustrating to watch. Big B, you saw it with your own two eyes. What were your thoughts on this defensive performance?
Yeah, it was very frustrating. It really limited the the crowd interaction and the crowd's hypeness during that game, which was really unfortunate. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just very frustrating to watch. I definitely at one point just started yelling at the team just for I think a minute straight, just
Mm.
cussing them out. So that was fun.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, so yeah, it's just very frustrating, very annoying. It's very tiring watching the same garbage week by week, and
Yeah.
last week was just the worst of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're starting to see some of those frustrations build over with the team. Um, Matt even kind of gave the most clear um, sign after the game that he was unhappy with Joe Barry at all. Um, So yeah, and then Devondre Campbell, the next day on Twitter, he tweets out. Let me pull it up here. I want to be exact. I don't want to misquote Devondre here. He says, "Not going out of my way anymore, and I'm not playing through injuries anymore because when shit goes wrong, they always use it against you. I'm treating everyone accordingly and giving them the same energy they gave me. Focus on yourself and your mental 59. You owe it to yourself." I'm not sure why he's talking in the third person there. Um, but that's my main takeaway. But also, with Devondre there, I'm confused by that. A lot of fans were calling him out on Twitter because he played really bad in that game. He was put in a lot of bad situations, but he was playing really bad. This whole year he hasn't been great. Now, of course, as his tweet mentions, he has been playing through injury. Um, but that was a confusing situation. Matt LaFleur was asked about it, of course, and he basically said he had a chat with Devondre. They seemed to sort things out. There's no beef between Matt and Devondre, it seems. Now, could there be beef between either Devondre and the fans, Devondre and Joe Barry, his frustrations with how he's being used? Who knows? Although, it is interesting because when Devondre was signed in his first year, he talked a lot about how he was being used to his full potential, being used in the right way. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure what's changed with that. I mean, I know what's changed with that and the fact that um he's not being used in the best ways, not being put in the best positions, but I don't know why that is. And yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. And then Devondre was asked about it yesterday on Thursday about what's the deal with that, and he said, "I'm not talking about nothing on the internet." Which, okay, man, it's not that deep. Like it's a lot of people want the Packers beat to hold everybody accountable so they can fix things up in the Packers organization. I'm like, look, Matt LaFleur, none of these players, they don't care what the press is saying about them. It's not like, from taking journalism classes, like we learned about the watchdog role journalists are supposed to play of holding people in high positions accountable, like the government. But sports reporters, at least with the Packers, are not playing a watchdog role. Okay, they are not going. They don't have the power to change anything in that organization. And so, I mean, my takeaway on Devondre though is okay, that's fine. It's not that deep. But also, if you're going to tweet it, you should probably be willing to answer questions about it. Okay, don't just tweet something and then kind of hide. But yeah, Big B takeaways on this Devondre drama.
Yeah, I don't really care about it. It's
Hmm.
whatever. he can tweet what he wants, and we'll overreact if it's big enough, and I think we've overreacted enough about it. But
Yes.
yeah, I'm assuming Devondre is just overall just frustrated with everything, and
Yeah.
that was the result of him being frustrated.
Yeah, I feel like, what you mentioned of people like overreacting and caring too much. I feel like that's my whole thing with the Packers fan base this year. It's like I obviously care a lot about the Packers, but this year I just like I could care less about these people that are making like something out of nothing, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
the Jair Alexander situation, people are making way too big of a deal out of that. And oh my God, it kills me that people think they can't take Jair Alexander for his word. They think he's lying all the time. And like I mentioned last week, he's quite honestly not helping himself too much. But I don't know why people care so much and want to hyper analyze every single bit of detail we get from that situation. It's like we'll find out eventually if there really is something behind this. But call me a sheep, whatever. I'm going to take Matt LaFleur at his word that it was miscalculation because that happens quite often, and it was a back injury. Those things are goofy, okay? I fully believe that. I really don't think there's much more going on there. Now, could like Jair Alexander being so mad at Joe Barry that he refuses to play? Maybe. I mean, I definitely think this defense as a whole is frustrated with him. Um, but I really have my doubts that Jair Alexander has missed out on $1 million now. And is just refusing to play in games. And people calling him soft is insane to me. I think there's very few NFL players that are soft. You don't get through the NFL, you don't get to your 6th year in the NFL by being soft. I have a hard time to believe that Jair Alexander is just a goofy little guy who the money got to his head or whatever. I think he really likes playing football, and I think he's mad that he can't play. So yeah, that frustrates me, and I think also the Zadarius Smith situation from 2 years ago has kind of messed up everybody's heads on how injuries work because that was a bizarre situation, and there was some underlying drama to that. And again, it was a back injury, which is a weird coincidence there. But I think that kind of made everybody believe, like that it just simply can't be just an injury. And then also, I mean, the David Bakhtiari thing that's been going on for 3 years now. People still want to think that David Bakhtiari is soft or whatever, or just like I don't know, man. I'm frustrated with Packers fans and how they react to injuries. Just like I don't know. Like please take off the tinfoil hats, okay? Your wild conspiracy theories. Maybe one of them ends up being right, but if they are, we will find out eventually, and it will be okay. Stop trying to look way too far into things. Big B, any thoughts more on Jair and some interesting Packers fans here? Just
Man, I don't know how to go about this after that amazing
you gotta
rant there.
pop open a Diet Dr. Pepper. Is that what you're drinking?
Yeah,
Okay.
got some.
Just regular. Okay, gotcha. We're recording early today. I got an iced coffee. So yeah. Okay. Anything else on the defense? I'm trying to think. I did want to bring up a good point that Wendell Ferreira, he writes for Cheesehead TV, or he used to write for Cheesehead TV. He writes for A to Z Sports now. He's from like Brazil or Italy. I really hope I'm not wrong on that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
Wendell, okay. So Wendell pointed out that basically the Packers have way too many man corners to be playing as much zone coverage as they do, which I absolutely agree. You look at Nixon and Valentine especially, I think it's just like they are at their best when they can go right on with a receiver, one-on-one coverage, close to the line where they can attack them right at the line. And that's when they're at their best. Valentine, his whole MO in college at Kentucky was, being a physical player. Kind of the same thing, throwback. Josh Jackson out of Iowa, his whole thing was he was super physical at the line, and that he was just so sticky in coverage. And ultimately, that ended up being like his weakness in the NFL because he got too many pass interference calls that he was able to get away with in college. But like Valentine and Nixon, that's where they should cook. And you know, where you want to place the blame on that is up to you, I guess. You can either say, okay, that's on Joe Barry for not utilizing his players correctly, or as someone pointed out in Wendell's comments, it's like, okay, well, the Packers front office, they know what Joe Barry wants, they know what his coverage calls for. They need to draft more zone corners. Wherever you want to place the blame, I guess. I place it more on Joe Barry. Just because.
Yeah. Yes.
And two, I think we've seen like Nixon and Valentine can both be good players.
Yeah, I feel like the past like few years, like our corners have always been good in like man, and we just constantly been playing zone. And
Yeah.
you know, that's probably the disconnect between like Joe Barry and like the front office, I would say.
Yeah.
And you know, hopefully the next defensive coordinator will get that connect mended, you know.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of great coaches talk about just, kind of taking the page out of Vince Lombardi's book, and you got to adjust to your players. That's really not Vince Lombardi, but a lot of great coaches just talk about having to adjust to your players, and instead of like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole by like forcing your defensive scheme into whatever players you're handed, like let the players make the mold and adjust to that. And of course, like if you're Vic Fangio, it's not saying you have to like, I don't know, make your defense like a Jimmy Johnson 4-3. But just adjust to your players. I don't know. That's my layman's take on it. On to the offense, which has been still exciting. This was a solid showing for the offense. Ultimately, they were held back by the defense and couldn't do enough. Jordan Love, another great performance from him. And I wanted to, of course, talk about quarterback one. I mean, he's been amazing this last stretch here. The Giants game, the first half wasn't all that great from Jordan, but I don't know if we talked about this last week or not. Like, just the fact that he got better as the game went on and was playing good football by the fourth quarter showed growth in itself, like just through the course of the game, growth. And also just from like earlier on in the season when he was having a bad game, he really never adjusted or was able to read the defense to see how he needed to play better, but he absolutely did that in that New York game. And then so in this game against Tampa Bay, 271 yards, or no, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, a rating of 111, completion rating of 74.4, which is just amazing. And then so in these past, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. I opened up Excel. I got a little creative here, okay? Jordan has been on a pace in these past 5 games for 4,620 yards, 37.4 touchdowns, 3.5 interceptions, 108 pass rating, and a 68 completion percentage. If that's his season pace in these last 5 games. That is insane. And like obviously that's cherry picking basically his 5 best performances of the season, but it's just like he's clearly putting it together compared to early on in the season. He has 6 games over 250 yards this season, with 4 of them coming in the stretch here. Rodgers only had 3 in 2022. So to all those people who told us and everybody else on Twitter that we were wildly wrong for saying that Jordan Love could match or exceed the production that Aaron Rodgers had in 2022, I don't know what to tell you, man. Sucks to be wrong, I guess.
Ha. Yeah.
We told you so.
Yeah.
Big, what have you thought of Jordan's last few performances here?
Yeah, it's been incredible. It's been really fun to watch. Like I said, I think was it 2 weeks ago. Like this offense is just so much fun to watch. I'm having a blast watching this offense, work, and it seems like Jordan Love is going in the direction everybody hoped he was going into.
Mhm.
And, he's really been carrying this offense, especially the last 5 weeks. And it's been very fun to watch.
Yeah, I would agree. I will be interesting to see what they do this upcoming offseason as far as contract extension goes. My thoughts on it, I mean, yeah, they're going to have to extend him. There's no way they go into next year making him a lame duck. I think, you walk the line of risking like having a Daniel Jones type deal where you overact one good year. But with Jones, it's like he was definitely a product of Brian Dable's system, but Jordan has showed off so much more. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do there. My thought on it is like, okay, pay him $45 million a year now, which is a high amount for just after 1 year of starting, but that places him pretty much right in the middle of the pack as far as elite quarterback goes. Mahomes is and Burrow are obviously the highest up there, but place him at 45 million now because in like 2 years, elite quarterbacks, the standard is going to be somewhere above 50, 55 million. So get him on contract near 45 million. I don't know, 4 years. And you know what? Honestly, like if he ends up like not being great next year, and it's like, oh shoot, we overreacted one good year. Like that's fine because I'd much rather like end up digging yourself into a hole that way than being unsure about him or going into next year having him as a lame duck and then he's Patrick Mahomes and you have to pay him $70 million a year. So a little bit of hyperbole there, but still. Other thoughts on this offense? Dontavian Wicks, really good game. 6 receptions for 97 yards. He looked really good. Showed some ability after the catch, which was really fun. And then Aaron Jones had 13 carries back on a limited basis, so that was fun to see him again. On to injuries for this week's game. The long list of injuries, of course. Jair Alexander limited. Devondre Campbell back on the injury report this week after his Twitter drama with that neck injury. He did not participate on Thursday. AJ Dillon, JJ Nagbar, Elton, Aaron, all limited. Big B, brace yourself. Caleb Jones was limited today. Oh, no, he did not participate. Super Bowl legacy dynasty for the next 10 years ruined. Of course.
Damn.
Luke Musgrave.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Game over. No point to even travel out to Carolina if Caleb Jones can't be there for moral support. Luke Musgrave was activated off of IR yesterday, which is exciting to see. It is funny that on the injury report he's listed with a kidney injury. Like I'm well aware that he has a lacerated kidney, but it is just funny to see. Like I don't think I've ever seen kidney or any other organ on the injury report. Jonathan Owens, who is currently being canceled on Twitter right now for saying he didn't know who Simone Biles was before they started dating. He has that knee injury, limited participation. Jaden Reed with a toe and chest injury, and Darnell Savage with a shoulder injury, not participating. TJ Sladen, Luke Tenuta, Quay Walker, all limited. Christian Watson did not participate, and then Dontavian Wicks and Emilion Wilson, both limited as well. So pretty much nothing too new compared to the last few weeks, other than, like I mentioned, Devondre being back on the report, Luke Musgrave being activated. Other than that, though, really nothing too new developments. Of course, Jaden Reed, though, with the toe injury that he suffered last week. All right, Big B, are you ready to take a look at this really bad Carolina Panthers team?
Born ready. Let's go.
All right, Carolina currently 2-12 on the year, coming off of a win over Atlanta. Just like Tampa was last week, win over Atlanta and then coming to play Green Bay. That was funny. Carolina has really just sent Atlanta and that whole organization into a down spiral if they weren't already down one. But Arthur Smith yesterday said something like, "I'm willing to die to like see this offense have success." It's like, whoa, buddy, let's chill out.
Yeah.
My favorite tweet from it was just like somebody quote tweeting and be like, "Whoa, buddy, You just gotta like hand Bijan Robinson the ball and like use Kyle Pitts and Cordell Patterson more. You don't even gotta die for it. It's not that deep. But yeah, this Panthers team, I'm not sure. It was the weather definitely had a factor in Carolina getting that win because there's not a lot of bright spots on this team. Even Bryce Young, the first overall pick, having a rough year. A lot of that due in part to just a horrendous offensive line. I tweeted out in the preseason that the Panthers offensive line is going to get Bryce Young killed. And that seems to be the case. And it seems like they're going to kill his career too. And I'm going to get on the soapbox again. Okay. So be prepared here. Like the lack of awareness or just, I think we need to acknowledge more how much a situation can affect a young quarterback and just like ruin them, ruin their whole entire career. Now, it's not like I watched tons of Bryce Young film coming out of college, but it's like he's in a really crap situation. He's obviously not been playing great, but rookie quarterbacks take some time. Like the pace of the NFL is just so accelerated now. Like Bryce Young was placed with Frank Reich, who I think is a good quarterbacks coach. They fire him week 11. There's just way too much hecticness going around Bryce Young for him to have a proper development to grow and develop. So yeah, that's unfortunate to see. But Bryce Young, he has a single game with a pass rating over 100, one game with more than one touchdown pass, 4 games with more than 200 yards, and 2 games where he has taken fewer sacks. As Zach Cruz has pointed out, Panthers' offensive line is one of the worst in the league. They are currently allowing an average of 5.5 sacks per game. Now, the Giants and under Tommy DeVito, they were allowing 6 sacks per game, and the Packers got 0 sacks on him. So that, take this Panthers offensive line don't get too excited over their bad performances this year. The Panthers' leading receiver right now is Adam Thielen with 860 yards, which says a lot that Adam Thielen is their leading receiver.
He's wide receiver 2 on the all-white boy squad, so I mean he's got to be doing something right,
Who's wide receiver 1?
Who is Cooper Kupp?
Oh, okay, of course. Okay. Panthers are 25th in rushing EPA. So they have Chuba Hubbard, they have Miles Sanders. I like both those guys, but when your offensive line is not that great, that's not going to work out too well for you. Let's see. Defensively, also not great. Ajiro Evero does some interesting things in pass coverage, which I like. JC Horn is good at corner for them, but the run defense 27th in EPA. So hopefully AJ Dillon is good to go. Hopefully Aaron Jones is good to go again this week, and really that should help out a lot. Big stars on Panthers defense: Derek Brown and Brian Burns. Brown at defensive tackle, and then Burns at rusher, of course. And famously, a lot of Packers fans wanted him instead of Rashawn Gary. Both of them have turned out to have good careers, so there's that. Any thoughts on the Panthers, Big B, before we head to our superlatives for this week?
They're very bad, so Joe Barry probably will do Joe Barry things and make this team look good again. So we're ready. We're ready.
We shall see. All right.
Yeah.
Key to the game for me, it is winning time of possession. This is the main reason I want to see Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon out there. When you look at how the Packers won games against Kansas City and Detroit, their 2 best performances of the year, they own the time of possession. That was a big problem against the Giants, just not being able to control the ball for long enough. The defense was out there for so long. Just control time of possession here. Put points on the board. You shouldn't have to score more than 20 to win this game. If the Packers score 20 points, I feel pretty confident that the Carolina Panthers will not outscore them. So that's, whoa. Okay, this is creepy. I didn't even look at your key to the game here, VP, but I just completely stole it from you. But go ahead now with your, I'll stop ranting about mine.
Yeah, well, mine is score 20 points, because if you score 20 points in this game, you should win this game because of how bad Carolina is. I'll even score 17 points and you would probably win this game. Carolina's that bad. Just score 20 points. We should win this game. Very simple.
Wow. Okay. Like I said, that was very creepy. I did not look. We have the script and we both put ours on there, but I did not look at yours at all. And I was just, we both got our hearts set on the same amount of points there.
Yeah.
For our biggest concern, I'm going with Brian Burns' athleticism against Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom. I like both those offensive tackles. However, Brian Burns, he's having a little bit of a down year, but his athleticism is just insane. His stunts off the line are amazing, and he can get to the quarterback very quickly. So that's my biggest concern for this one. And then also, how is Jordan Love going to react to that and read pressure from Burns? Big B, what's your biggest concern here?
My biggest concern is Bryce Young cooking us because, last 2 weeks, Baker Mayfield, Tommy DeVito, they both cooked us. Joe Barry, I'm rooting for him to finish out these last few weeks strong, but not strong enough that he can keep his job next year, But, if Bryce Young cooks us, I'm gonna like reevaluate my life and wonder where it all went wrong.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you have nothing to do with it, but you are a team owner, so yeah, maybe you would need to evaluate some life choices.
Yes.
Okay. Well, who is going off player of the week? I got Kenny Clark. It's a weak Carolina Panthers O-line, and Kenny likes to feast usually in December. He's my guy. Who do you got, Big B?
I got Jordan Love. I want like a 5 touchdown performance this week. I just need like Jordan Love to just like say screw it and just have like a career day.
Okay.
That's what I want for Christmas is Jordan Love to just dominate and win NFC Player of the Week. That's all I need.
That would be a pretty amazing Christmas gift, especially after, like you mentioned, for our NFC Offensive Player of the Week is 2 opposing quarterbacks have gotten that for 2 weeks in a row. Not that that's his fault, of course. But, yeah, I mean, if he had – I'm looking at his career or season stats right now. 5 more touchdowns would put him at 30. He's at 25 right now. He's at 3,368 yards. So if Jordan Love reaches 4,000 yards and 30 passing touchdowns on the season, looks like he should – that would be well beyond, at least statistically, my expectations for him this season. So that would be a pretty good first year starting for Jordan Love. And yeah, I mean, he's had some really good performances these past few weeks. And I think his best would probably be against Kansas City. But having a performance on Christmas Eve that just a dominate performance for him, big stage, would be awesome to see him have that and have the world talking about Jordan Love on Christmas Eve. I'm looking forward to it. As far as if you still care about the Packers playoff chances, I forgot to mention this earlier. The Rams won last night, which isn't great. But now if you're a Packers fan, you got to be rooting against Vikings and Seahawks this weekend. Seahawks look good. Vikings not so much. So there's that. There's your Packers playoff update. They have like a 20% chance now. If they win, they go up to like 35. If they win out, they still have a 95% chance of making the playoffs. So there's that. That's all we got for you this week, though, on this episode of Underage Packers. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk to you later. Go Pack, go.